Overwatch 2 released this week after a couple of successful beta tests earlier in the year, plus the original Overwatch has been sunset. This one is an iterative change rather than a huge redesign for Overwatch, which was considered many people's Game of the Year back in 2016. Much has changed in the looter landscape since then with the emergence of high-quality free-to-play games, season passes and Battle Royale. So can Overwatch 2 stay competitive in today's environment? Well, let's find out. Overwatch 2 has been released replacing the original Overwatch 1 and minus the promised PvE mode back at the unveiling of the sequel. It's much more of an iterative change than a complete redesign, which is probably a good thing, given Overwatch had massive success. And it was one of the breakout hits of 2016, and until that content dried up, it did enjoy a few good years of being the major player in online shooters. It may look the same and feel similar, but dig under the surface and you are going to find a good amount of changes that freshen up the Overwatch franchise. At the core, Overwatch 2 is still a hero-based shooter. It's big, it's colourful, with fluid-feeling shooting mechanics and great character interactions. At launch, we've got 35 characters to play with. They are all very different. They've got their own unique personalities and arsenal to master. So Overwatch 2 still feels great, and not much has changed around this core concept. The fact that it feels good probably means fans are willing to put up with some of the changes surrounding the core gameplay mechanic. The team-focused, objective gameplay is what made Overwatch stand out from the crowd. However, innovations in other areas of the shooter genre were lurking just around the corner of 2016. One of the major changes to Overwatch now is its free-to-play, and therefore comes with all the add-ons that a free-to-play shooter has. So we've got a Season Pass, the online store, and the grind for new characters and cosmetics. So there are plenty of benefits to a free-to-play model. For example, this is going to help get players in. Previously, the game was like $40 or £40, but since then, the market has moved on, with some of the biggest games in the world now free-to-play. So Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, Destiny 2, even though that's probably more free to try. And you've also got Halo Infinite as well. You can jump into these games and play for free. Destiny 2 is probably a little limited in what you can play for free, but you can still jump in and have an arena-based shooter experience. Now, all of these games have battle passes or season passes, all have microtransaction stores filled with cosmetics and sometimes even more. So it does make sense for Overwatch to do this in this day and age. Putting the game behind a paywall immediately puts the game at a disadvantage in a very, very crowded market. The introduction of a free-to-play model is a big change for Overwatch, but it doesn't really affect the gameplay. The biggest change to gameplay for Overwatch 2 has been the move to 5 versus 5 compared to 6 versus 6 previously. While this only represents a small change to the roster of an individual match, so going from 12 players on the field to 10, this is a big shift and has far-reaching repercussions for teams. Some long-standing Overwatch teams who used to be made up of 6 players now have to move to 5, meaning one player is going to miss out. More importantly, this has an impact on the match dynamics and focus, as well as the gameplay rhythm. And it does emphasise more individual play rather than team play, which had been the major focus of Overwatch previously. Well, teams are now made up of 2 DPS, 1 tank, and 2 support characters. This means fewer tanks in matches. So, in the original Overwatch, Winston and Reinhardt were probably the most popular tanks on the field, and this change is hopefully going to even things up when it comes to tank selection. It creates an interesting situation where teams only have 5 players, given the tank has to try and be at the point of the vanguard and also attack or drive forward the objective. But then they've got to be soaking up the damage from the rear as well. It means a split role and an increased amount of responsibility for tanks, whereas this role was taken up by 2 players before. So on the positive side, this does mean more exciting matches. On the negative side, it probably means more popular tanks are being used more often, meaning less variation. I don't know about you in the opening week of Overwatch 2, but I think I've seen loads and loads of Reinhardt, and that might be because we're down to only 1 tank. Well, originally when Overwatch 2 was unveiled, the PvE component was going to be a huge part of the package. With that gone, there needs to be a material change in the Overwatch 2 experience, and the team composition represents a meaningful change to the game. It's something which has shaken up the meta and also refreshed the gameplay. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. It is a huge gamble. Games are exciting, but that relative loss of team-focused play and its impact is probably not yet known. Given team play was one of the differentiators from Overwatch 1, The seeming lack of this in a sequel is quite a risky decision from Blizzard. Given this team composition rebalancing into 5 versus 5, loads of heroes have been reworked, so Erisa probably represents one of the biggest changes to a hero in the game at the minute. While she used to be an anchor to the team, she's now much more mobile and able to dish out the damage effectively. She's got a javelin spin, where most damage is caused by charging towards opponents, and this is wildly different from how Erisa used to play, given she sat back and allowed other players to use her as a defensive shield. Erisa's defensive net or shields have been removed, and other defensive shields have been removed as well. So there's been a massive reduction in the number of shields that can be deployed by players, which opens up the gameplay very, very nicely indeed. As well as the character reworks, there's also new heroes being added too, one new character in each class, bringing up the full roster to 35 at launch. So we've got Sojourn is the new damage hero, is a rapid-fire machine gun, and also offers something slightly different to Soldier 76. We've got Kiriko, she is a fast and nimble healer, able to quickly dash in and out of combat and deal damage with her ninja stars. Junker Queen, on the other hand, is a new tank hero. She's very effective when it comes to being aggressive on the field. She's got an axe, a knife, and a shotgun, so all the new characters, they're very well designed and have the personality you'd expect from an Overwatch character. We've also got a new gameplay mode too with Push. We've got to move a robotic vehicle to a location, so the robot spawns roughly in the middle. Each team have to push the objective into the opposing team's spawn to get the winner, so it's quite similar to escort mode, but rather than constantly attacking or defending, you're constantly trying to get the payload to the other side. Similar to a real-life tug of war, it gives both teams a focus, and the momentum can shift and change as the match goes on. It's good fun, and I really think it has a bunch of potential. So Push is a new addition, but things have been removed as well, so loot boxes have been removed. I think the game is going to be all the better for it. Loot boxes have been replaced with a Season Pass, much like we see in other free-to-play games. The Season Pass costs around £10 or about 1,000 Overwatch coins, and that probably equates to about $10 as well, so each season is 9 weeks long, and we've got tiers to climb to unlock various cosmetics. So you've got all new voice lines, clothing, colour variations, and it all feels very familiar when it comes to other games like this, like Fortnite, Rumbleverse, Fall Guys, and Multiverses. Each new season, we're going to get a new hero, a new map, or maybe both. Blizzard's got some big plans for the season model with new characters, maps, and even new modes coming. So hopefully they've learnt from the first game and the content won't go through a massive drought as we saw with Overwatch 1, which ultimately led to the decline in the player base of the first game. Given now it's free to play and Blizzard has a steady stream of features ready to go or coming down the pipeline, hopefully this isn't going to happen again, at least in the short term. The Battle Pass is very interesting and offers up some incentives to play for in terms of premium Battle Pass owners. So on the free track you're going to get rewards on 20 of the levels, or basically every 4 tiers. And if you're a new player and go for the free track, then you're going to unlock Kiriko at level 55, and the new heroes in the same way in future seasons. So level 55, you are going to have to play quite a long time. New players also have a limited number of heroes to play with when they start. I think it's 13. However, if you owned Overwatch 1, then you're going to start with all 35. So everyone who logs in during Season 1 are going to have access to Sojourn and Junker Queen. While the PvE mode didn't make the cut for launch, it is due in 2023, so that is going to be story heavy, filled with Overwatch lore, and has the potential to really set it apart from other shooters. Destiny 2 has been doing really good story content for a couple of years now, so if they can get anywhere near that level of storytelling, I will be a happy customer. I can't finish up this review without mentioning the launch, which has been close to an absolute disaster for Blizzard. So shortly after launch, Blizzard have been suffering massive DDoS attacks, huge queues of players, meaning players either can't get in or they're being thrown out of matches having to wait hours to get in the first place. While it's not new for online multiplayer games to have rocky launches like this is probably the worst I've ever experienced. So I've been avoiding the queues so far, playing when North America is asleep. That's early here in the morning in the UK, but I've seen screenshots of queues in the tens of thousands and clips of people being thrown out of matches due to errors. I tried to play on Thursday or Friday night, so after having to wait to play the game for an hour, I then got thrown out of about 3 matches in a row, halfway through the game, and really that was it for me. It must be hugely disappointing for Blizzard and players alike, and hopefully this is going to get fixed really soon. Overall though, Overwatch 2 is a lot of fun. It may be missing its long-awaited PvE mode at launch. It's also added enough changes to the game to help it feel fresh. The 5v5 mode mixes up the gameplay and the new push mode is a lot of fun. The new heroes are excellent, and some of the changes to existing characters are really interesting. We're going to have to wait and see and play it more to see how it all pans out. There's potential in here for Blizzard to have a massive hit once again on their hands if they can play the seasonal content model right. But right now, it's fun, it's colourful, it's a team-focused first-person shooter, and if you're a fan of the genre, it's definitely something you should try out. Well, the game is developed by Blizzard, it is published by Blizzard, it's available on the PlayStation 4, 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, the Series X, the Series S, and also PC as well, and the original release was the 4th of October, 2022. Well, that is it for my review of Overwatch 2. Definitely recommend jumping in if you can. I know Blizzard have been doing a lot of good work this week, fixing bugs, getting those queues down, but hopefully as we go into early next week, things are going to calm down a bit and you're going to be able to get a game nice and easy. Well, that is it for my review of Overwatch 2 for now, and as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. Or you can check me out on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. But if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.